gonna have the starting soon on for a little bit, and then at
Okay.
8 we'll go. Yep. Oh, I should have played music or something, but it's fine. Oh, I gotta put on my hat. There we go.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, since we're talking about it.
That's nice.
Yep. Let me just.
Is that the one from like Disney World or Disneyland?
I got
That
it.
hat.
I got it at Disney World actually. Went
Cool,
right
cool.
off of walked right off of
Oh,
Star
nice.
Tours and got it.
Wow.
Like right at the gift
Very
Right
shop.
into the gift shop.
Yeah. Yeah, right into the gift shop. That's the worst part about Disney is that it's just like
Mhm.
everywhere is a gift shop, and of
Yeah.
course Star Wars has taken over the parks. Like, I mean, not saying that that's a
Yeah.
bad thing. It's just like it's everywhere. Like even if you walk off of Space Mountain, it's just everywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I was telling John that I picked this up, and then I was able to find Hunter and Crosshair Black Series at Tatooine Traders also.
Wow.
Which he was
wasn't-
not nice enough to pick me one up
Amazing.
either, so it's fine.
I'm sorry, buddy.
I don't hold it against you or anything. It's fine. It's completely cool.
All right. Well, I did see the Dark Ray figure yesterday at a random GameStop that I went to in Lancaster.
It's been so hard to find figures. Oh my god.
Yeah, it is.
But we luckily have the
Yeah,
answer.
you guys have actually gotten better with finding the figures than I have, because it seems like your targets
We do like a
lot.
blend of like pre-ordering and
Ah.
finding. Like for the Bad Batch Funkos, I pre-ordered all of them.
Oh really?
Mm.
So yeah, because I was like,
Yeah.
I need to. But the Omega I actually found in store because I couldn't pre-order on Target. I just happened
That's
to find her in store, and it was like, ah, we found two actually. We did a giveaway for one, so luckily that
Nice.
worked out.
Nice.
Mhm.
We are gonna get started.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've already gotten started, but you know. All right. Well, everybody, welcome to the show. It's our live show and our Bad Batch Roundtable. Once again, my name is Eric Mitchell. I'm one of your hosts here, and joining me, I have such an amazing panel with me tonight for this episode. Joining me from a fight club far, far away is Katrina. Katrina, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Had a nice productive weekend for, once. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Had a long but good weekend. And then joining me as well, we have the HoloNet Marauders themselves, AJ, Jam, and Matt. Hey everybody, how are you guys doing?
Doing well, doing
Good.
well.
Yeah.
Thanks
Super
so much
excited
for
to
having us.
chat with
Yeah,
you.
honestly.
Actually, yeah, our names are popping up here, but it's fine.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all good.
It is what it is.
We're HoloNet Marauders everywhere. And
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's it.
And then joining me, you know him, you love him, making his debut, or his return actually, the Sith Lord led Tasso himself, John from OTN Media. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I decided not to put the red lights on and everything, and didn't put the hood and the cape and everything. It just felt like it was a little overdone last time, so I figured I'd keep it a little mellow this time.
Well, I remember the last time your eyes were hurting like really, really bad by the end of
It
that
was
episode.
very bright. It was very bright.
Yeah. Well, we had also been drinking just a little bit that night too, so anyway, so that's our panel with us, and we just have a quick few news things to cover real quick. And my cat is just walked in the room and announced her presence. Anyway,
To the news.
yeah, to the news. So yesterday was Free Comic Book Day, and IDW and Viz Media released two things. They released the High Republic Adventures Free Comic Book Day special, as well as a sneak peek at Edge of Balance, which is the High Republic manga that Justina Ireland is writing that is being released in September. I personally did not have a chance to pick this up yesterday. I was kind of out and about, but I know AJ and the Marauders and Katrina, you guys picked up the High Republic Adventures. I think I know a few people that picked up Edge of Balance, but you guys said that you had a chance to look through it, and you said Ram Jamaram makes his comic book debut. How did that go?
Yeah. I've only like
Uh,
skimmed it briefly. It's super cute so
yeah.
far, but it's Lula. It's not the plushy Lula, but Lula
I
Talisula.
wish.
Um, uh, Ram, and oh gosh, what the other girl's name? That's
Um,
The
in as
Gonk
well.
is in it. The Gonk droid.
The Gonk is in it, so it's
Oh,
pretty
Yeah.
much the crew from Race to Crash Point
V1V.
Tower,
Okay.
and then Ty Yorick also appears in it from like what I skimmed through so far. It looks really cute. The art style is adorable, but I haven't really read the full story yet. But
Yeah,
Ram does make an appearance in the comics.
I'm having like flashbacks to like English class where I didn't read the book or the chapter for the night to cover it. But
What was the
yeah, no,
quiz?
we have it, and I'm excited to read it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Shame on you guys for not doing your homework. Um, but
I know,
I did
seriously.
just,
Did
but
it-
I did just get you these notes today.
You're the only one who didn't.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to see the High Republic at a free comic book day event. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm excited to see a broader audience getting introduced to this world, and like I love Lula Telesola, so like I think she's a great vehicle to use.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah, and
Yeah, she's definitely warmed up on me. I love her from Race to Crash Point Tower. She was great in that book.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Meg and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago with Race to Crash Point Tower. It's kind of like the perfect palate cleanser after the Rising Storm because it's more of a fun, lighthearted book. Whereas the Rising Storm, Cavan Scott has those fun moments that he inserts in that book, but at the end you're just emotionally wrecked to the point
Yeah.
where
Yeah, then he punches you in the throat.
yeah, yeah, where I'm okay
He
not
punches. Then he
seeing
punches you in the palate.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm okay not seeing like Marky and Roe for a while and like the rest of them, just focus on Ram, the Drengir, all of that. And then I saw that the Bombrax were with Ram as well, or at least one of them was with Ram in the
Yep,
one panel I saw.
they're there.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
There's a couple of them, and it's funny to see like the visual of them because they all actually have outfits and goggles as well, which is something that like I didn't even like think of in like the reading just reading the book, but in the comic, yeah, they all have clothes and like goggles, and they're great.
That's awesome.
We can are we allowed to talk about Rising Storm spoilers a bit? I know it's been out for a bit now. But...
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, have you guys been keeping up with the Keith Trennis comics while we're on
Yes.
the topic?
So
So,
a few
we were
behind,
chatting about it.
but it's okay.
Should I not reveal what
No,
I'm going to
you're
reveal
fine,
though?
you're
I think it's
fine.
from
Probably
7
not.
High Republic.
It's
So, she has a vision in this, and we didn't notice it at first, but we know how Rising Storm ends
yeah.
with Loden Greatstorm turning to stone via
I just
the
throw it out
leveler.
there.
So in this vision she has, because she's been in contact with the Drengir,
Yeah.
she is in stone here. So I don't know if that's a connection to that or not, but someone pointed it out the other day to us, and we were just like, our minds melted.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That's
High
pretty
Republic
crazy.
7, so check that out if
Nice.
you haven't.
Yeah,
Nice.
big things
If you-
coming for Kiev, I bet. I
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've been excited for that character since before the High Republic because of the Dooku Jedi Lost mention.
Yeah.
The moment they
Right.
announced Kiev Trennis, I was like, "Who Trennis?" Like,
Yeah.
I need
Yeah,
to know
exactly.
more about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites, if not my
Yeah.
favorite. So it's been so fun.
And then we had the sneak peek at Edge of Balance, which we've already seen some concept art from the High Republic author interviews. I feel like this one's going to hit a little bit differently as well because we're going to get that Visions style when it comes to Star Wars, which quick side note, I think all of us are really excited for Visions because this is kind of like the Star Wars What If series in a way that a lot of people have been asking for. Just seeing the Jedi Temple or this Jedi outpost that we get with Lily Torasi, do you think we're going to see more of the Jedi as like samurai figures, especially like leaning more towards Visions, or are we going to get like a different, or are we going to get like a balance between the fantastical and that samurai type thing?
I think it'd be a
I
different
think
vibe. What's Matt? What's that short story in the Myths and Fables that's like about the Jedi who comes and like saves the town? That
Oh yeah,
it
I don't
like
know the name of it, but obviously the Obi-Wan story that where he shows up and slays the crate dragon and saves the Tusken
yeah.
Raider village. Yeah,
Hey,
Yeah,
fanboy.
so I feel like it's gonna be like vibes like that, in which like it is like a fabled Jedi that is there to like protect the town. I
Nice.
don't think it'll be like Visions because we don't have any idea what Visions is really gonna be
Yeah.
like based on like the announcements. I'm still fixated on Tatooine Rhapsody for Visions, but
Yeah.
but that's a different story.
I mean,
I think
that's gonna be fun. Go ahead.
Edge of Balance is definitely going to lean more heavily on the samurai inspiration for the Jedi. Because we know, like, the High Republic was supposed to be, they literally build it as, like, the Knights of the Round Table
Yeah.
for, the Jedi Knight. So, we've definitely leaned way more towards the, medieval knight aspect of the Jedi in pretty much all of the media we've gotten so far. And it seems like with Edge of Balance, this might be like a testing the waters situation where they're going to see if they can release more Japanese inspired media, which leans more into the samurai angle that the Jedi also have. I wouldn't be surprised if this spawns more manga. And I mean, I guess, Visions could be a test for a High Republic anime or something like
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't be surprised because it seems like the High Republic is really the place where they're testing concepts and different, styles and authors and creators. So I wouldn't be surprised
Well,
if we get more samurai Jedi.
yeah, and to ducktail off of what you just said with them testing these concepts, I know John, you and I have talked about the acolyte with the Sith acolyte, and how I've said I think that this is going to be like Disney Plus's High Republic show, but towards the end of the events. Like, what do you think, John?
So I think the anime take is definitely interesting, along with the manga. I mean, yeah, you're trying to branch out to a new group. My only concern is that, would the traditional manga reader be interested in grabbing Star Wars if they're not already introduced to that universe? If they're not, let's say, someone who's introduced to it at a young age or even has any interest in it, opening up that new genre, if you will, of exposing people to Star Wars. I just think it can pay off for sure. It definitely can be a major payoff, but I can also see it being a missed opportunity. Like, kind of like, okay, we tried it, it didn't really work out that well. Maybe the people who are interested in manga aren't interested in Star Wars. I think it's a shot that's worth taking.
Yeah.
I don't see it being bad. I mean, for Star Wars fans, I think everyone's going to be excited for it. It's really when you're trying to expand into that other segment of the population, trying to bring them into the Star Wars universe, that might be where you get a little pushback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah,
And I think it's a
I have a
good.
group of.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I think it's just a good experiment.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best word to use. A good experiment to get Star Wars fans into anime and manga, and get manga and anime fans into Star Wars. Because I mean,
Yeah.
speaking for myself, I don't watch anything that's really anime, and I don't read any manga or anything. But the other day, I picked up Guardians of the Wills manga adaptation, and I can't wait to look at that. So I'm excited to explore this stuff.
And this isn't our.
I'm really just.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really excited to see Japanese creators welcomed into Star Wars because
Yes.
it's so heavily
Yeah.
inspired by like Japanese storytelling and filmmaking.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
isn't our first like Star Wars manga that we've had, because we had
Mhm.
the Lost Stars adaptation, which if you've never read Lost Stars, I mean, do yourself a favor and read that book. It's absolutely incredible. And then we've had the Rebels adaptation, and now we've also had the Leia Princess of Alderaan adaptation also. So
And one more, Legends of Luke Skywalker got a manga
that's right.
adaptation too,
That's right. It
and I
did.
was
Yeah.
super happy about that because that's like my favorite. That's like my favorite book in new canon. So I was thrilled to see that.
That was the
Yeah,
last.
so each of those have just been adaptations though. So this will
Yeah.
be the first actual like new material,
Original
like an
thing,
original
yeah.
story, not just something different. So it'll be interesting, like you guys have all said, for it's an experiment. And I'm excited for them to actually like test the waters with this new thing. And so we'll see if it actually does well, because people will buy it as Star Wars fans, but we'll see. Will manga fans obviously all have separate like subsections of what they like the best, and so who's actually gonna buy it from them? If
So,
they have like a sibling who like likes Star Wars, they'll be like,
yeah.
oh yeah, sure, like I'll try this one. But otherwise, they're probably gonna be like, no. But
Yeah.
who knows?
So
Yeah, my group of friends is like super into anime and manga, and not really super into Star Wars. Like I introduced them to Star Wars, and the only time they ever watch it is with me.
yeah.
But I mentioned the other day that there's like a Star Wars manga, and their ears like perked up. So there is an interest in, because it's translating into what they know more than what I know. So yeah, it seems like there's a possibility that it could reach more people.
Yeah. So let's move on here to a couple of other things. So we have the announcement for Star Wars Tales from Galaxy's Edge Last Call. This is the Oculus Quest VR game. Now, I haven't really played this game, but I know people that have. Are you guys familiar with this game, or have you played this game yet?
I know of it.
Unfortunately, no.
I
And
have.
it's
I've
hard
not
to
played it.
find like quality gameplay of it. Also,
Yeah, I'd
I
love
know
to play
that
it, but
Bobby Moynihan is the bartender, and I absolutely adore Bobby Moynihan.
Yes.
For multiple reasons. But like that's the most that I know about it, and I wish that like it was more accessible, because
Yeah.
like it's funny that they're like, oh, we're gonna like make all these Oculus and VR games, and it's still like difficult to like get like a setup for that, and it's hard to like watch gameplay of it as well, because since it's like it's just difficult overall, and like I wish that it was more readily available.
yeah.
Long story short.
Now,
Yeah,
John.
there are things I found out about. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're
I
fine.
always have something to say. There are things I
Fine.
found out about with like Vader or Immortal that connect to like the Void experience that was out there, and like if you don't have access to both of those things, you miss that cool story point about the lightsabers.
Now, John, you
Yeah,
and
and
I. Go ahead, AJ, real quick.
I was just gonna say real quick to go off Vader Immortal, like it was the explanation of why Mustafar was kind of
Yeah.
healed
Well,
in Rise of Skywalker. So a
yeah,
lot of hidden
and
lore in that.
so the VR games, they're not being slept on. They're quite important to the overall story. So
Yeah.
Now, John, you and I mean, it seems like everybody here is a huge gamer. Let's just admit that a lot of us do play video games. As somebody
It's a
that,
bad thing.
yeah, yeah, it's terrible. You guys should read books and not manga.
Yeah,
No,
I have to come clean. I'm a gamer. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you guys. That's how I make my living.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, this question is for all of you. Yes, this is a VR game, but if they did break it down and put it like on a platform like Xbox or PlayStation, now granted it is on PC, but you do have to have a VR headset for PC. Would these two games take off if they were on these bigger platforms and didn't have to
Yes.
have the VR?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as you
Yes.
put a game on VR, you put a $200 to $300 gatekeep on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The average gamer that is playing on a standard office built computer at home that might still be on last gen console, there's no way that they're going to be able to afford a VR set that requires a super powered PC of at least $1,200 plus an $800 graphics card plus the Oculus unit itself on top of everything else. I mean, the game could be great for lore wise. It can extend the lore and the storyline to areas that no one has been able to reach. To the fact that it's VR is great because it's more immersive.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's a big issue in the gaming community right now is the idea of VR. Yes, it's great. Yes, it's the next step of video gaming, but you can't demand a $1,200 computer on top of a $300 VR set on top of a even more powerful graphics card to run that game. Yeah, the game's $25, but overall you're looking at close to a $2,000 investment, and it's just not cool. You make a 2D or 2D 3D standard version of it, put on a console, regular PC, whatever, and let fans enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
can
reason
agree
I've
with
been
that.
like replaying Nier off and on because it's on every single platform and the game's over like 12 years old now and heck, I'm still whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Doing
exactly.
that. Rocking
Um,
that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why they did it because they wanted that more immersive storytelling experience, but I think you just got it
Yeah.
with Fallen Order. Fallen Order was one of the most immersive storytelling experiences I ever experienced in a
Amazing.
Star Wars game.
Yeah.
I mean, you could easily do that in first person on an Xbox or a PlayStation, like you guys said, without having to invest heavily in that. Or put it on the cloud.
And
Like,
immersive.
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, and I was just going to chime in and say, like, I completely agree with that. And that you have to think about how successful the immersive Star Wars experience is, especially in game format. I mean, how long has the Old Republic been running? Like, that
Yeah.
is, and it's not even that hugely successful of a game, but it sustains itself so well because it's one of those games that, like, I could play that on my $300, like, crappy PC laptop. Not great, but I
Yeah.
could access it and yeah, and I just think that's what Star Wars fans love. Like they love being able to just be in that world, and that's what makes Vader Immortal like so valuable to us.
Well, that
Yeah.
and look at the longevity of Battlefront 2,
The Zoom
five,
Zoom.
6 years later
Mm-hmm.
after it was released, post microtransactions, let's say, because now that game is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just wanted to get your opinions on that when it comes to that. I love Galaxy's Edge, and I saw that this one was going to deal with Doc Ondar, which is actually one of my favorite places to go to on Batu when I'm there, just to like look at the trinkets and stuff. So I just wanted to tackle that. We are actually going to be talking about the rumors. Well, we know that this is going to be happening with the Ahsoka show with Sabine being cast. Is Taya Sakar going to be cast as live action Ahsoka? And you guys can just take it away with this and just tell me how you guys feel.
No, I don't. I
No.
don't think there's a chance. No. And you know, I get why, you know, and I feel for the voice actors not being cast in the live action role when you see other voice casters getting cast in the live action roles.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think she's going in the running for Sabine. I think, you know, the rumors that came out, they have the three actresses
Mm-hmm.
who are being considered. And you know, they're all fairly young. It's funny, they're actually younger. They're all younger than the person playing Ezra.
Yeah.
Supposedly, of course, rumored. Which is funny because it's the opposite in universe. Sabine is older than Ezra. But
Yeah.
I don't think Tia Sakar is going to play
I butchered her
Sabine,
name,
and it's
I
unfortunate. Like I
apologize.
said,
Yeah.
I
I mean, I don't think that's. Oh, go on.
Oh no, yeah, I'm sorry, you go.
I don't think that's anything saying that we won't see Tia Sirkar in
Yeah.
live action, especially like after fan demand. Like I hope that if we don't get her as Sabine, this shows how much we appreciate her as an actress and want to
Yeah.
see her, take on a live action role.
Yeah.
And she gets 2 Star Wars roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
that'd
you
be
go.
cool.
See, I'd love that. Bring Ashley Eckstein too, you know,
Yeah.
into the fold
Yeah.
and give them some kind of roles. That'd be great.
I'm always down when the voice actor can play the person in live action. You know, Katie Sackhoff,
Yes.
and now Lars Mikkelsen will play Thrawn. You know, we're pretty
Most
sure.
likely,
So
yeah.
most
Pretty sure.
likely,
Again,
not
we're
concrete,
digging
but-
into rumors,
Yeah.
Right.
But then
Matt's
actually
our-
working
Matt's our
backwards,
big rumors
Ming-Na
guy.
Wen. If you work
Oh,
backwards,
right.
Ming-Na Wen was
Ming-Na Wen,
static
yeah.
and then in animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, that's always
She's
fun.
the
So
opposite.
I'd be down for it. But
Mhm.
I'm
Now-
not sure what like the leading rumor is.
Now, what about Naomi Scott from Aladdin and Power Rangers to play Sabine?
I'm so
Because-
bad with names. I am so bad with names of actors. Like you throwing around names, and I'm like,
Jasmine.
sure, okay.
I'm right there with you.
I don't know.
Because
Working next
I'll be
to
excited no matter what, like who actually gets casted, and I'm excited for the show, and I'm just like,
Right.
all right,
Yeah.
cool. But like when news comes out like this, I'm just like, yeah, I'm excited. People are excited and they're talking, but I'm just like,
because
Okay.
I could see her and Mina Mossad, who played live action Aladdin, being Sabine and Ezra,
Oh yeah.
because they already
Yeah.
have that chemistry.
So
They've
they
already
already
worked
have, like,
together. Yeah,
on-screen chemistry. Yeah.
yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
Isn't that a cop out though? Like it's just like
Maybe a little
copying
bit.
and pasting
Yeah,
a couple into
cop-out.
another thing. What are we
Well,
going back to like
I
the
guess.
30s when like couples would be signed onto movies together and that'd be everything.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I also just like don't really love the idea of Sabine not being like visibly older than Ezra. Like she was, you know, no matter how you see them, she was that like older sister kind of character to him, and
Mhm.
she was the elder of the two kids of the rebels found family. So I'm like, I'm not crazy about anything I'm hearing right now, but I
Yeah.
love to pretend I haven't heard anything
Yeah.
and just float on my cloud of I don't know
mean,
what's going on.
I trust
Yeah,
Filoni.
I like that vibe.
And
That's a good cloud to be on.
all of us pretty much trust Filoni and Favreau when it comes to the casting for these shows.
Yeah.
And I just think.
And you know,
I mean,
they've done a
except for one part. Except for one part.
Oh,
That's
right.
Freddie Prinze Jr. coming back
Yeah.
to play 11-year-old version of Caleb. I'm sorry,
Without
if
at
Caleb
least
is 11 and
shifting his
has the voice of a 50-year-old man,
Sup, Balaba.
It's beautiful.
yeah, exactly. that was a little weird.
Yeah.
I
That
had
was
no
strange,
idea who
yeah.
that child was for a second. Like, who is this? Obi-Wan shouldn't be this young.
And it's funny because the ages in the live action, in Mando especially, they're all wonky. Like
Yeah.
Katie Sackhoff does not look like she's, you know, the age that she's supposed to be
Yeah.
in
Right.
in universe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's not that important to them. Which is fine, I guess.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a show and a movie about space wizards, so you know they can age
Yeah.
however they
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
If Obi-Wan can look like he's in his 70s even though he's only like 52,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then we've already gone way past, you know, ooh, this guy doesn't look like his age is supposed to be.
There's an interesting conversation to be had about
Yeah.
the rate of aging when you are in space versus on a certain planet that is a certain amount of
That'll
time
be
away
next
from the
week's
sun.
episode,
Or like,
ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, exactly. Like the science of Star Wars
Yeah.
galaxies. How do the
How do we
humans
age in
age?
space?
How do they age?
How do they age?
Good question.
I mean,
They
It's a
do.
great
They do
question.
bring that up in the first episode of the Bad Batch. Like they're
Yeah.
literally like, "Oh, how long have we been gone?" And they list off the days, and then Tech gets into the specifics, and then Wrecker's just like, "What are you talking about?"
because Wrecker just marks it on the wall. That's all he
And
does.
he's like, "All right, I got
Yep.
this."
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that. And I have one more thing here in terms of news. And I saw reactions last week for this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And I know, John, you have an opinion on this too. Let's
I'll keep
talk
my mouth
about
shut.
Galactic Star Cruiser and just how I mean, it's an amazing experience. It's an absolutely amazing experience if you look at it. But I don't think the price is worth what you're getting for this. Because for two people,
No
it's
way.
$4,800 for 2 nights.
Yeah.
I think the six of us could go pull off a heist on Vandor
Yeah.
selling coaxium, then and we can all go in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
so
if
steep.
we don't pull that off, we might not be able to go on this
Oh, that was
Yeah.
Galactic Star Cruiser.
That was my favorite part of that whole thing debuting. Wasn't finding out about the Star Cruiser, but watching my friends come up with elaborate plans to break
Yes.
in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yes, let's go.
I
How about
saw
it?
I saw a fellow podcaster. I forget what podcast they were with. And they said, "Hey, for $4,800, you all can just pay me $150, stay at my place for 2 nights, and I'll cook, and you all can wear Star Wars
Yeah.
costumes, and I'll play music."
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Mhm.
that's been like the
I'm
thing,
fine
just
with that.
do that
I'll take him
instead.
up on that offer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. You're there for 2 days,
Mhm.
so you're essentially paying $100 an hour
Yeah.
to stay there, which is just outrageous.
I think that one of the craziest like revelations like from it is they released like the mock schedule of like what
Yeah.
everything will be.
I'm
And
looking at it right
I was
now.
watching. Let's see. I was watching Rex and Around. So Michael and Greg mentioned how like it pretty much is kind of like a. It seems like a land cruise. It seems like what you would do on a cruise ship of like
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
regimented schedule along the way, and they keep me moving and like actually doing activities the full time. And it's like I personally just like want to like go like chill in the room and just like chill on like the Halcyon. Also, I love the fact that the name of this Star Cruiser is the Halcyon. Fun
Yeah.
fact, guys. I love the names of ships. It's like one of my favorite things. Um, But like, I just want to go and I just want to chill on the ship and like,
Yeah.
It reminds me
play
of like
sabacc, maybe
the first.
learn how to fly. Okay, sure, but like, I don't.
It reminds me
I
of
don't
like the
know.
first weekend at like freshman in college. You do like the
Yes.
orientation, and it's like I don't want to do that. I just want to go sit in my room and play video games, and I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
There's like a
that's what I
30-minute cocktail hour. That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
problem. I can't have a 30-minute cocktail hour. That
Yeah.
contradicts
And
what's
then-
happening here.
It's an
So-
hour. It should be an hour.
Hour.
So-
Give me the cocktail hour.
So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this right now, and so you have the launch pod to the Star Cruiser, which is according to their itinerary is 1:15 to 1:30. Then you have ship orientation from 1:45 to 2:15. Then after that, it's light refreshments from 3 to 3:30.
Like, you
Go ahead.
don't get to go to your room right away.
No.
You don't get to go to your room right away. Like, it's like, so like, it's literally, they're gonna have like mini like Rise of the Resistance, and so you like you ride to the ship, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the safety orientation through the ship, which is really cool. But again, it's a cruise on land.
How am I
So
supposed to
you'd be
get
like,
dressed
"Alright,
in my Star Wars
here-
clothes if I can't get to my room?
You got to do that at the
Yeah, do
terminal,
you do it
bud.
before? Do you do it after? Like,
Oh, you do?
what's going on? And
When the-
I don't. Apparently, like, there's not going to be like you have to like buy outfits. Like,
Yeah.
you're not given things. I was really
What?
hoping for like a Westworld type experience. Like, you
Yeah.
like the beginning, you walk into like a room with just like all of the stuff, and you just pick what you want.
So
Like, even if it was like limited, be like, all right, these are like the 3 options. Like, that'd be perfect. Like, I was
So-
hoping for something like that.
So going back to the outfit change, you have to do it on the Magical Express as you leave the airport at Disney.
Fair.
Sorry, I'm
Absolute
just saying.
nightmare. Have you like ridden one of those things?
Yeah.
before?
Oh yeah, I
my
have.
God.
But then you have
Wonderful service, but also
yeah.
a nightmare.
But then you have sabacc lessons from 3:30 to 4, which I think that's pretty cool. Then you have your muster from 4 to 4:30. That should actually be your ship orientation should be included with the muster. Then so
Are we
after
like crew members? Like, why is it a muster?
Yeah.
because they gotta
it's
go over the
literally what it's
safety
supposed to be like.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the captain's reception from 4:30 to 5. Then you have a half hour of doing nothing until you get to dinner featuring live music from 5:30 to 7. Then the one thing that we want to do, which is the Outer Rim Regalia, which is dressing up, is only 15 minutes according to the schedule.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah. That's not
So
how
are
a
we-
gala works. You
Are
do
we
that all
picking
night.
out outfits? Are we taking that 15
Hey, Millie.
minutes to get dressed? Are we like I don't what are we doing?
In
It-
15
so, like,
minutes,
I'm
they're
just
probably
thinking-
throwing it on you and saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, whatever sticks, sticks."
Yeah,
There you
pretty
go.
much. Yeah.
Like, oh my
I'm just
gosh.
picturing this live music. I think that's so funny. I figuring Dan and the modal nodes, a bunch
Yes.
of guys dressed as Biff coming out, sitting there going, "Oh my god, what am I doing?
Yeah,
Hey,
Like, what are they even gonna do? How are they even gonna do that?"
yeah. And then you get an
Okay.
unexpected story moment from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. Well, how is it unexpected if it's already in my schedule?
if
pretty
it's
right.
times, how is it
True.
unexpected?
Mhm.
Nobody expects
Yeah.
the unexpected moment.
Yeah. Then
That's
you get
right.
to go to bridge training from 8 to 8:45. And then from 8:30 to 8:45 there's special atrium entertainment. And then what do they say? Go back to your room at like 8:45? Like
There's
you can't be
conflict.
wandering around? Like do
Yeah.
they lock
It's just fact. You can't
It's
go out
okay,
in space
Millie.
after 9.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
at the
No,
end of
you're right.
this, like since it's so like highly like regimented, like that's
Yeah.
like I just want to like experience it like on like my own terms. Like I understand that there's like a schedule and like probably there will be like some like variance to it, but
Mhm.
like it's just kind of crazy that they're like, oh, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be like very structured the entire time,
Yeah.
and I respect it, but like give me some freedom at the same time. Like I don't know how it's gonna go.
Now with day 2, it's a little more spread out, but it's still like pretty schedule oriented wise. The problem with day 2 is you only get like 4.5 hours at Galaxy's Edge. 2 of those hours, or one of those hours, I should say, is trying to ride Rise of the Resistance and Smuggler's Run. But then you get another story moment thrown in there. And then you get lunch at Docking Bay 7, and then you have to be on the Star Cruiser by 1 o'clock.
I
So
want lunch at Ronto's. I don't want to eat a talking base 7. Are you kidding
yeah, I
me?
want a Ronto wrap if I'm gonna get food at
Will
Why am I
they
Galaxy's
not
leave
Edge.
going
you
to
behind?
Oga's? Like,
Yeah.
I want a Ronto wrap
Yeah,
and I want to go
right.
to Oga's. I do not
So
want to go to the cafeteria.
and
Like
another
seriously though, would they leave you behind like in typical cruise ship fashion if you missed the
okay.
time to come back? Like you see like people like
That,
running to like the gate and then the cruise ship's just leaving. Like would they
Wait for
leave people
me.
behind? Like would they do that? Like
that is
I
the
feel like that would
question.
add to the experience. To be like, oh no, the
It'd be
ship left
fun.
without me.
That is the
Like, it
question
needs to be said.
that is the question that my wife and I asked like when we saw this schedule, because I was like, so what do they do? Like, do you have to hop on a bus, like a Disney bus, like at the front of Hollywood Studios and like take it back to the cruise terminal to catch the shuttle back? Or do they say, well, you missed your cruise. We'll have your bag sent to Caribbean Beach Resort where you have to like live out the rest of your day at Disney. Like, like how do they do that? And
Yeah,
then
right.
what if you want
That's
to
a good question.
what if you want to build a droid or build a lightsaber? Because building a lightsaber I think is like at least 45 minutes to do or something like that.
People will wander and they're
Yeah.
gonna lose people and it's gonna throw a wrench into things and it's whatever.
I'm
It's
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the big concern, like, and not necessarily for me, but for people I have heard be vocal at Disneyland to cast members who didn't deserve it, is the fact that like so many people travel. Like Rise of the Resistance breaks down like 50 times a day. That's
Oh yeah.
just how it is. You know, it's maybe going to be another year until that ride actually works. But a lot of people get upset when it breaks down over here at Disneyland because they traveled out for it. Even though I really don't advise such long-term travel at
Yeah.
this point in the,
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
But that's like the number one complaint is like, oh, I didn't get to do Rise of the Resistance. It's the only reason I'm here. So if that's like, if every guest doesn't get every single point that they came for, because a lot of them are probably only coming for, they'll come to go through the spaceport and,
Yeah.
and stuff. To miss anything in Batu while you're there within that 4 hours, I just hear the complaints already.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
then another thing is, are they going to have like Galactic Star Cruiser personnel like at the entrance between Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land and Muppets Courtyard, like telling you, no,
Plaids.
you
Oh,
can't go
you
this
can't
way?
leave.
Yeah. Like is that how it's going to be? There's
That is
just
a good question.
there's so much
That's a
up
good
in the air
question.
with this. And I get the unexpected story moments because they want you to forge your own Star Wars story, but with it being as tight of a schedule as it is, it just feels like there's no like time to breathe and like to really like take in
Mm.
everything. Feels like they're just rushing you
Yeah.
through it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
for $4,800,
You're right.
I better be meeting like every single person that's been in the sequel trilogy for that point.
Right.
Honestly.
I mean, also for that price point, I find it kind of ridiculous that, building your own lightsaber, going to Droid Depot is not included in that also. Like,
Yes.
I mean, small things like that. I would fully imagine that if you're dropping $4,800, you get to jump the line for everything.
Yeah.
I would fully
Yeah.
expect if I'm paying that much money to say, okay, if you guys are interested in, building your own lightsaber, you want to go to Droid Depot and build your own droid. 3 o'clock on this day and 7 o'clock in the evening on this day. Those are our
Yeah.
two time frames. If you're going to do it, that's when you're going to do it. And then you jump the line.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I'm right there with everyone else. Like, it's way too structured to actually enjoy an experience where you're being able to explore this land and have that immersive experience. Yeah, this is pretty immersive. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know anybody that goes to Disneyland or Disney World and just wants to sit in their resort for 98% of their experience. I mean,
Yeah.
the part of it
Yeah.
is going out and having fun in the park itself.
Now, granted,
They
I
would
do...
like
Go ahead.
they would like, I don't know. To me, like, you're there at the hotel for 2 days, 48 hours, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And someone that's going to that would probably be doing a 5-7 day vacation at Disney
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you take your Batu day, another day that you're not at the hotel, and build your lightsaber then maybe? I don't know. It's just I don't know what they
You might do it
expect.
before, you might do it after, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, I think that Batu should not be a rushed experience. Like, it should be a single day long experience where they're not rushing you through
Right.
rides, they're not rushing you through all those experiences. Because, say you want to go to Oga's and get that drink. Hey, Katie, say you want to go to Oga's and get that drink, but the only open time slot is like 6 p.m. You're screwed out of that. You would have to go back
Yeah.
and do it again at another time. And just seeing that, you're right, you're probably there for a week. You're probably split it up between two hotels. You're probably staying at a much cheaper hotel for the remainder of your trip than you are
Oh yeah.
for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's all up in the air. We'll have to see when it starts sailing next year. We'll have to see what people think of the experience, but people are going to do it. It's going to be the people that pay
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks at the Polynesian villas and all that stuff, which, don't get me wrong, those are really nice rooms, but so we'll see that. But let's move on to our favorite group of clones, aka the Dad Batch. We just witnessed the season finale of The Bad Batch, 2 episodes, Return to Camino and Camino Lost. Before we get into spoilers, I just want to know your overall thoughts on these 2 episodes, and then we're going to dive right into it. We're going to start with Jam. Go ahead.
Uh, I'm sorry. I was not expecting to go first. So overall
It's okay.
thoughts without spoilers for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore this show, and I loved the finale, and I'm very happy that no one died. Sorry, that's kind of a spoiler, but I'm very happy that
That's
no one
very
died,
spoiler.
including I'm very happy that the Havoc Marauder did not blow up. That's very important for me,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think that's as much as I can say without getting into like bad spoilers. Although I dropped the no one died down.
All right, let's go with
Sorry.
Katrina. Go ahead.
These were the 2 episodes that I've been waiting for. And that is not to say that I haven't enjoyed the last season, because I really have. Like, I thought this was a perfect first season for a Star Wars animated show. It's definitely made for an older audience, which I really appreciated. And yeah, like this was the coming together of like our main cast, that like it shows all the strengths they've been building this season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
John?
Personally, these 2 last episodes were the best episodes since the first episode, in my
Okay.
opinion. By far, I mean, they're I won't put them up there with episode 1, but definitely 2 and 3 in comparison to everything else. It was very well done. Definitely had that Star Wars vibe to it that I feel like a lot of the middle episodes were missing. Just watching the destruction of Camino. I mean, obviously, it's Camino Lost, so everyone should know it goes away. But yeah, I thought overall it was probably the best 2 episodes since the whole series started.
Yeah. All right, Matt.
So I guess, yeah, I loved these last 2 episodes. I definitely think they should have been 1 episode, though.
Mhm.
I honestly think the week-long break between these 2 episodes was a detriment, because it really, the second episode picks up right where the first one leaves off, and it's like, I really wish it was just one long, smooth. It should have been like the season 1 premiere,
Yeah.
45, 55 minutes, because it was. I say that, and then I think back to how I felt last week when the episode ended, and spoilers, I guess. Sorry.
It's okay.
We tried.
And we
let's
watched
do it,
Camino,
it's
like,
fine.
sinking into the sea,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that really hit me. That hit me, and to stew on that for a week was nice.
Yeah.
But then jumping right back into where we were and realizing, like, oh, now they have to escape. It kind of almost took it away, and I don't really know what else they could have done. This was like
Yeah.
the situation where The Force Awakens ends with a cliffhanger, so we have to start The Last Jedi right where it left off.
Yeah.
You can't really skip ahead and skip over where they were. So it's the same kind of thing with that, where you can't just skip. You can't just have the last episode with them being like, "Wow, ooh, that was tough getting out of there."
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on. Let's go do something else. You have to have that escape sequence,
Yeah.
and the escape sequence was great. But it was like I was ready for the finale, and then it was still the same thing. But I loved it. I mean, I can't really. That's probably the worst thing I can say about it was that it should have been one long episode, and I should have been able to watch it for an hour.
Yeah. AJ?
I mean, I totally agree with Matt there that it would have mirrored the opening episode 1 very well if it was kind of, because that was a Camino-centric thing.
Yeah.
This would have been Camino-centric. If they were each that long, that would have been great. As an arc, I loved it. It was heartbreaking. No one died, so I'm combining everyone's thoughts here. So, I mean, we talked earlier a bit on our show. We did have a death, and that was Camino.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was, we'll talk about more about that later, I guess.
Yeah.
But last week ended, and I was like, I wonder where it's gonna go next week, because it's the finale. And it was kind of, it was a bit of like a slower episode, and they kind of eased their way out, and they escaped. I mean, it was like a crazy hectic escape still, but I liked the way they did it, because it felt like, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Poseidon or whatever, where it felt like that, where they're going through like a submerged thing, escaping, water comes in, and it was creative. I liked it, and they had a lot of great dialogue with Crosshair the whole time, so it was cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed these 2 episodes. I'm with John though. I think that these 2 were up there for me. These 2 were my favorites besides the first episode. I really enjoyed this season. I thought that it was entertaining. There were times when I got frustrated, especially towards the middle part of the season. I'm not the biggest Omega fan. She is growing on me, but I'm not like her biggest fan.
Wow.
I mean, it has nothing to do with her being smart or anything. I just felt like there were times where she felt, and I know that they were trying to do it to show that she was out of place in a way, but there were times when she felt like too out of place in certain situations where I just felt that it would have benefited the situation had she not been there. Because there were times, I know it's growing pains with her where she has to, learn to be a member of the squad, so she does mess some things up when it comes to operations. But there were some times when I just wanted it to go smooth. I know it's not going to happen because it is the Bad Batch, but that's just how I felt. These 2 episodes were perfect. I kind of was hoping for a more physical confrontation between Hunter and Crosshair, um, similar to what we got with Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith, where they're like
The
yelling
final
about
duel, if you will.
Oh,
where they're like yelling about their
Yeah.
ideals. But I felt that it ended on the better note. We do finally have closure for the Clone Wars with these last 2 episodes, and we can finally move on from Camino. So let's dive in. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to like go straight off of that and say like I'm very excited to see how like it's been a while since we got a long-term redemption story in Star Wars that where we actually got to marinate with the character, because what I feel like what we're going to see with Crosshair is, even though he's going back to the Empire, he's going to be dealing with repercussions of his decisions, and he's going to this if he does make a change or whatever path he takes, he's going to have a long path ahead of him. So I was glad we didn't get like that confrontation, because whatever is going to happen with Crosshair is going to make the next meeting of this crew that much more intense.
Yeah, and
I
to
always like when
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Well, I was gonna say,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
Jinx, you almost soda.
oh god.
Yeah.
No, I was just quickly gonna say I really like when they do the whole like you follow the main characters and then you follow somebody who went off the track,
Yeah.
who's like conflicted. They did that in Resistance. I don't know how you guys feel about Resistance. I actually enjoy
I
Resistance.
personally love
But
it.
they did that with the character Tam. And I really liked what they did with Tam, where she spends an entire season with the First Order and she's conflicted and she's thinking about her family back home, and they're trying to reach out to her.
Yeah.
Which is, in the Bad Batch is different because they didn't really try to reach out to him. So, you can look at how Tam was handled in Resistance, and then the Bad Batch didn't really handle it as well,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think that can really be explored in season 2, where we're going to watch Crosshair just kind of, I don't know, grow disillusioned and fade in his fervor for the Empire.
Now, going back to, I mean, actually, this is actually a perfect moment to ducktail off of both of these statements. Will we see a Asajj Ventress type redemption arc with Crosshair, where he does change over that? Because in Clone Wars, Ventress did change over that long period of time, and it wasn't until we got
That's
to
my
Dark
girl.
Disciple that like we really saw the change in her in Dark Disciple. Which, read that book too, because it's incredible. Are we gonna
I think
get
so.
that? Are we gonna get that with
I think so,
Crosshair?
like, definitely. Because, like,
Mhm.
there's still, like, a lot of, like, I feel like there's a lot of mind games going on with Ice. I personally still think that Crosshair's chip is still in his head. There's,
Oh
like, a
yeah,
big conversation that, like, is it actually out? I think that it's still in for the sole reason is Crosshair's trying to get into Hunter's head because
Mhm.
Crosshair, like, says to Hunter, "You take things too personally," and, like, Crosshair knows how he thinks.
yeah,
And so I don't know if he's saying that on purpose or if the Empire lied to him and that's truly what Crosshair believes. We don't know. But regardless of what happens, Crosshair being or choosing to stay behind, that's also really important. He
hmm
chose to stay behind, and like the batch did offer multiple times, you can come with us, but we're offering you a choice. And he chose to stay behind. And like Crosshair literally offered the same thing to the same thing to them as well,
yeah,
as they both were offering each other the choice, and they both were like, "No, this isn't for me. We're gonna just change." We don't know what the Empire is going to do at Crosshair once they
yeah,
actually find him again. We don't even know if the Empire is going to return to Camino because, like, literally the way it's left off, Rampart's like, let him die. Like,
yeah.
he doesn't care. He doesn't think anyone survived that. So we don't even know when and if the Empire will send scouts to even check to see what's going on Camino. Um, so if he does actually end up going back to the Empire, which he probably like will, like he's gonna be like tried as like a criminal probably
Yeah.
because that the only remaining member of his squad saw everyone else dead and him fighting with the Bad Batch. So they're probably like, oh well,
Yeah.
he's a traitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's now commander
It's
traitor. So
That reminds me
yeah,
a little bit of how when it's a very different situation from Callus, but we're gonna
Yeah.
see if Crosshair chooses to go back,
yeah.
we're gonna see like his process for that. Because when Callus went back just after helping Zeb, this was before he did
Yeah.
anything wild, he like immediately felt different. And
Yeah.
the parallels between we watch him like watch Zeb run back to his family, basically, like physically, and then he
Mhm.
goes back to being alone. And so I want to see what that is with Crosshair and if there's like something tangible there.
yeah.
That's one of my
And it's
favorite
funny.
moments in Rebels
Go ahead.
too, seeing those parallels. But
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah,
something like that happens. And we kind of do see maybe something like that because in episode 3 of the season, I think it was, we see Crosshair with his new squad,
Yeah.
and they sit down in the bunk bed in their barracks or wherever they're in
Yes.
their room. And he like
Mhm.
sits around and looks. He's like, "These guys aren't the same. These guys are a bunch of stiffs." But yeah, Matt, what were you gonna say?
well, I was just going to say it's funny you brought up Asajj Ventress because we talked to Michael earlier, and he basically said the exact same thing. He
Yeah.
predicted that Crosshair would become an Asajj Ventress type figure,
Mhm.
where he's not allied with the Empire anymore, but he's not allied with them either. He's kind of like in the middle, and he's almost like a mercenary where they encounter him and they run into him, but he's not really their main adversary anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
Now the Bendu,
I
he
would
is the
like
one in
because I
between.
want yeah
He's the
Yeah.
I
Bendu.
would like to see Rampart be like an actual threatening villain and not just
Yeah.
like a doofus sitting around doing nothing. I
Thanks.
really
I
don't
don't
like
like him. I don't hate
Rampart.
him. I have no opinion of him. He just
Yeah.
kind of
He's got to do
exists and
something.
like
I think
do something.
Rampart, because when we first started watching the show, John, you and I talked about how we thought that the big bad was going to be Tarkin. Like, that's what we predicted, that Tarkin was going to be the big bad for the show. Now they have an
Mhm.
opportunity with Rampart where they can really just like dive in on his character and really just make him like this ruthless Star Wars villain that we've come to know and love. Is there a chance where we get Rampart being like kind of a predecessor to Thrawn in terms of the tactics, in terms of all of that, because you see Rampart's just as ruthless in just that brief moment. Rampart's just as ruthless as Thrawn when it comes to executing some of these orders.
Yeah, and to go back to when we were discussing everything back when the whole series started, I also thought we'd get more of that transition period from the Republic to the Empire, which we got maybe an episode worth, and then a little bit here and a little bit there, and then it all magically disappeared, and the Empire was there overnight, like in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Which is great because you could say, okay, well, that's how strong they are, but still, seeing that process of seeing civilizations kind of like change to that new ruling style of galactic government was really interesting, and we didn't get any of it after like an episode or two, so that kind of bummed me out. But yeah, I think Rampart could definitely be the big baddie of the series. Yeah, he could definitely be that lead up to Thrawn. I mean, I would not be surprised if we even got like a Darth Vader appearance in season 2 also, just trying to like ramp up the baddies, because obviously, I mean, I felt like that was one of the things missing in season 1. Was it was just Rampart and then Crosshair, and that was pretty much it. And Crosshair didn't really have
Rampart.
Yeah, and then it's like Crosshair made an appearance here and there, and then there was like a 3-4 episode time span where we didn't see anything involving the Empire at all. And then it just magically came back up. I just felt like I feel like they need to focus a little bit more on that in season 2. And I think Rampart will definitely play a big part of that.
I honestly think that they should have bookended each episode with the Empire and the building of the Empire, and then focus on the batch, similar to what we got with Ryloth during that story arc, where it was like it focused more on the Empire and the building, and also that episode before Ryloth when they rescue the Separatist senator. Like those 3 episodes are really strong in building up the Empire. And yeah, I think that that's one of the weaker moments when it comes to the show. One of the weaker story points when it comes to the show is there's not enough of the Empire in the show. Now, granted, they're still building, they're still trying to establish that identity, but they should have bookended at least most of the episodes with what the Empire was doing.
See, on the flip side of it, I think that the show is as good as it is because we aren't seeing the Empire from the Empire's point of view. We're seeing it through the eyes of the clones. I think that's why the show is so powerful at the moment. So like, yes, they haven't touched on the Empire as much as they could have, but then again, we're seeing the revelations through the eyes of the clones. Like we don't learn about like the whole they're using enlisted troopers instead of continuing the cloning program until almost the end of the season. They don't learn that until the War Mantle episode, which is like 14 or so. But like as the viewer, like we like know that they're like edging into that because we see Crosshair's crew. And so like learning it through the eyes of the clones is the best way that they can spin this, and it's something that we haven't seen before. Because like we've gotten Empire stories before, like later on, like during the Rebellion era, but like seeing the foundation of the Empire through the soldiers who are straight up being decommissioned is the best like way they can be approaching this.
Yeah. I see that.
And I agree with that. The one thing I would have liked though also is, since Crosshair is still a main figure in the whole series, why can't we get an episode or 2 or a little bit here and there of Crosshair experiencing the same thing just on the Empire side? I'm not asking for like 7 or 8 episodes of it, but it'd be really cool to see the Empire's growth through his eyes also.
Yeah, we just got the one glimpse of it in when they go to the planet to to kill the partisans, Saw Gerrers. Yeah, like we see that was great. That was cool. And the Ryloth arc, we kind of see that through Crosshair's eyes a bit. Yeah. So, but those are great moments. So I wish we could have got more of that, but I'm sure we.
What we end up seeing each time Crosshair appears is we see his hesitation, which is like why I think he never got his chip out. I think they just cranked it up to 11 and they told him they took it out, and but he's still fighting it the entire time, the entire season. It was in the last 2 episodes as well. He's still fighting something because he keeps holding his head. You don't just keep grabbing your head as a clone if your chip is like not in that head. Like
you said that he didn't have his chip out, and like everybody agreed, but it's like I feel like I'm in the minority. I really do think he got his chip out. I really do.
Like
the more I think about it, when they turned it up to 11, as we say, and
they did.
He he was put out
Yeah,
for that,
literally.
right? So
Yeah.
for all maybe
Yeah.
they told him, hey, we're taking your chip out. So
It would
You know-
totally be an Empire thing to just straight up lie to him.
Or
'Cause they can
did
do
they-
that.
Or
Yeah.
did they do it after he got injured on oh god, what is
Maybe.
it?
on
It's
Braca,
possible,
yeah.
like
Braca,
maybe
yeah.
like with like the
Braca.
burn, it damaged it, and so
Yeah.
maybe it's influencing. It's just not working properly, but it might still be in there.
Because that
So-
scar,
Maybe I'm
I like.
scar's like right
Yeah.
where the chip is supposed to be.
Yeah,
a
it's
little
like
It's very
far back.
prominent.
it's in the
They haven't
area.
gotten rid of it. They've kept it there, almost like a reminder.
Yeah, I mean maybe yeah. Oh wait, I just lost my thought. Whoops.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, okay. There, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but like, did he even say like the Empire specifically took my chip out?
He's just
He
said
said,
I
"I
had it
had it
taken out.
removed."
Was
or I
that-
had it
Yeah.
removed,
Yeah,
I had it removed a long time
Yeah.
ago, and then Hunter asks when, and he said, "Doesn't matter."
yeah.
Not doesn't,
so-
but does it matter? And kind of.
yeah, because I
Kinda
don't
matters.
remember him like specifically saying the Empire
Yeah.
did it. He just said it was done. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That also just kind of like adds an element of it to me, like because that the way I read that was like Crosshair willingly wanted his chip out and knew what was happening, and that was his way of telling Hunter, like I've
Yeah.
been making these decisions on my own, quote unquote, all the time or this whole
Yeah.
time. So
Uh,
he seemed pretty confident about it.
Yeah. What if
Yeah,
Crosshair's
and I
chip
always
was
like the
removed
idea of
before the
like
Empire?
choices. You know,
That's a good question too,
Maybe.
Brent. Sorry, I
That's a really
didn't
good
mean to
question.
interrupt. The question is,
no,
what
no,
if
no, no.
Crosshair's chip was removed way before the Empire? That's another good question too. But
Good thought, but why did he act on Order 66 so readily as opposed to everyone else who like didn't?
yeah,
Like-
Because he
that's
liked
true
it.
too.
He
Those
liked
good
the
He liked
idea.
soldiers
it.
follow orders.
Yeah.
And also,
He's
I
into
thought
it.
I thought in that initial episode they showed when his head was being scanned, the chip was still in his brain.
Yeah,
Right.
the chip was
I
still in
think
his
so.
in his brain. Yeah,
In his head, yeah.
that's because they said that
Okay.
out of the 5 of them, he was the one that had the least mutations and the least interference with the inhibitor chip.
Yeah.
But I want to move on to the other members of the batch, and I want to talk about Echo because I really feel that Echo was kind of put on the back burner this season. They could have explored so much with Echo this season, especially with him dealing with the PTSD from the Techno Union, especially with him coming to terms with Five's death and everything and coming back to the Republic. Do you feel that they just completely just overshadowed him, or do you just feel that there was too much in this first season to get through and we should just save it for season 2? And Katrina, I see that you're... Go ahead.
She's got
I
that.
definitely agree with the latter. Like, I think those are the two, because it's also my gripe too. Like, we didn't get to spend a lot of time with like both Echo and Tech this
Yeah.
season. You know, they just did their jobs, they did what they're supposed to do, and they're two guys who do things that are like very similar, or they're kind of similar dudes. So we didn't get to like spend a lot of time with them individually. But I think it's for that exact reason. It's that there wasn't time to spend on how how deep and like, you know, diverse their stories are. So I think we're going to see a lot of that in season 2, and I think that was set up on purpose. Like, we got that season 2 announcement early. I think they knew like we're going to have time to tell these stories, so let's get the key points out, because I feel like even now, like even though we spend a lot of time with characters with like Hunter and Omega especially, we're just scratching the surface of this cast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do hope that that's the intention for season 2, is to just like, now that we're out of that part and Camino's gone, we can spend some time on these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree completely with that.
And real
Like
quick,
all of that.
it just feels like they treated Echo like he was a Swiss Army knife at times, because like he was just there to like
He's got one for a
open and
hand.
I mean, yeah, he does, but he was just there to like open and close doors and like calculate jumps to hyperspace, where we see a little bit
The
of
human can opener.
yeah, pretty much. We see a little bit of him coming to terms with dealing with the Separatists when they rescue that Separatist senator. We see a little bit of it, but that should have been the moment where we like really started to dive into Echo and his resentment towards the Separatists.
Yeah, I mean, like the I'd say like the major parts for like Echo like this entire season have been, you know, getting smacked in the face during the cafeteria fight, and then he wakes up and there's a droid looking over him, and he straight up has a panic attack of
Yeah.
AZ just
Yeah.
like being right there, which is huge, and then they kind of just like gloss over it, and they
Yeah.
don't really like talk about it. That moment, and then him getting angry at Hunter for going to help a separatist, ex-separatist leader, and then when they're rescuing Gregor, him again telling Hunter, "No, we need to do this because you guys did this for me." And
Yeah.
I think that those are the his like 3 moments in this season that really just like showed that like he's very strong in his opinions, and the team still doesn't necessarily like recognize it.
Yeah.
He's still finding his way like with the Bad Batch in general, and it's something that we haven't been able to explore as far. However, with like characterizing with the rest of the team, it was done enough because it showed. I think that the main points they wanted to show is each of these members of the Bad Batch care so deeply for Omega and like
Yeah.
her struggles and like everything to help her, and they'll do anything, and that's very clear. Like Echo is one of like the strongest people who like cares for Omega. Like I would say obviously Hunter, and then Echo right after that is like the next person to care for her so much. Like in like the finale, not the finale, but the
I will
second
be
to
right
last
back.
episode
Keep
alone, like when like Omega like flushes through the door and like Echo catches her, and like the like Omega just clings to Echo like so closely because like it's just so important for him to be there. And yeah, like I could go on for years about Echo, and like Tech hadn't get enough characterization.
Hey,
I know, and
he
they,
got
All I
that
talk about on
joke.
social media.
That was a good Echo joke. He did. That was
right,
important.
yeah, that was
He
a
got
great
that
moment.
joke. How could we forget? Of course, yeah, that's the
Can't forget,
actual
can't
best
forget
moment in the
the Echo
entire
joke.
season.
And when he
Oh my
sniffs the
God.
popcorn.
Oh my God,
Sniffs
the
the
sniffing
popcorn,
the
Echo
popcorn.
count.
What am I doing? These are the
Yeah,
moments
what are we
that we have
talking
like
about?
called out like on our own streams, and I haven't
Yeah.
even mentioned them
Echo
here.
shines in the season.
Yeah.
Echo
I mean, I
does
feel like
shine.
it's a lot again, like Rebels. Like we didn't spend a whole lot of time with Sabine in the first season of Rebels.
Right.
And
I was gonna
and
say
Not
the
at
same
all.
thing.
Yeah.
yeah, like and
Yeah.
the same could be said for Zeb. We don't really get into them until seasons 2 and 3. But then when we get into them, it's just
Yeah.
like this incredible story because they had to like, introduce us on a surface level to everyone. So I'm really excited to see where it's going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
That's a good point. I never really actually thought of that, but that's a really good argument for the fact that we will probably see more Echo and Tech development in the future.
Yes.
Because I mean, I love Echo, and I agree with everything everybody said. But I really want to see more Tech. I want to see Tech, develop. I want to see what he's going through because we always joke that Gonky is the group's droid, but I mean, Tech could also be considered the group's droid because he doesn't seem to have any emotions and he doesn't seem to be going through much.
Yeah. He's like
So I
a
definitely want to
3PO
see
type
that.
guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a 3PO type guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's what he is. No, it's true.
Sorry about that.
So that's what I want to see.
I think one thing we needed, and we've talked about this a bit, we really needed a Tech and Omega like centric.
Yeah.
Like they needed to go for a walk. They needed to go do a mission together or something, or get stuck together. That would have been cool. Because that would have been. I mean, they kind of did on Braca. They were on the bridge together, and Omega was like, "What was the
Yeah.
war like?" And like he
Yeah.
takes it
He
so literal,
explains.
and
Yeah. That
He
just
just
reminded me
says-
of that one scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Toph is like, "I'm gonna go on a life-changing journey with Zuko now."
yeah. Everybody gets a life-changing journey with Zuko. Everybody in the group,
except for Tech.
yeah.
So
I'd love to see Tech and Omega go out and do stuff, and for
Mhm.
Tech to tell her that she's doing everything sufficiently.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
So
It'd be
sweet.
perfect.
Yeah, I love the fact that each member of the batch did try to teach Omega something that they were each like really strong at. For Hunter, it was tracking people. For Wrecker, that's still like one of my favorite moments is he's teaching her how to defuse a bomb, and
Yeah.
and she ends up failing. For Echo, it was about being a marksman, and then for Tech, it was about doing the stuff on the bridge on Baraka. Is there something that you feel like because I feel that eventually Crosshair is going to rejoin the squad. And him and Omega are going to have these heart-to-hearts, similar to what she did with Wrecker, similar to what she did with Hunter. What will Crosshair teach Omega if and when he does come back to the squad?
The mirror
Toothpick
trick, but with
flicking.
the crows.
To flick a
Toothpick
toothpick.
flicking. I like
Just
that.
toothpick flicking.
Toothpick flicking.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be like Tony and Gamora like playing like paper football. It's gonna be that.
Oh my
That's
god,
what
that
it's
would
gonna
be
be.
such a great
That's
moment.
funny. That's great.
And who else?
What would he teach
Go ahead.
in all seriousness? I'm just
mean-
like trying to think of like what he would teach in all seriousness. I mean, like Omega and Crosshair. Omega has tried to reach out to Crosshair
Yeah.
in the first place, like multiple times. Like she does in the first episode and she does in the last episode. A few
Mhm.
times in the last episode. And I think that she would just try to talk to him and just be there for him. I don't think he would necessarily teach her anything. I think that she would teach him how to be
There
able
we
to
go.
talk to someone else.
Yeah.
Ooh.
If there's one
Yeah.
thing that we've seen, it's how forgiving Omega is, especially like when it came to
Mm.
Wrecker attacking her during the Order 66 moment with the inhibitor chips.
hmm
Um,
Mhm.
would that be the turning point for Crosshair at that point? If like we didn't have like any other redeeming things for him, would her just saying I forgive you for everything that you did to the team, would that be that turning point for him, or would he still, or would it still take him a while to get to that point?
I like that a lot because that is what Star Wars is all about,
Yeah.
right? Redemption through the acts of others, through the forgiveness and compassion of others. You see that obviously with Luke and Vader. It's the most famous example. We see that with Rey and Kylo. We see that with Zeb and Callus, and of
Mhm.
course, who I mentioned earlier, Tam and especially Kaz. There's that idea that it's never too late, right? That you can always come back, and it's up to the people who this person has wronged to like forgive them and bring them back, and
Yeah.
show them that they can return from their mistakes.
Mhm.
And that is basically who Omega is as a character. She is like the redemption personified, if you will. She's just completely and totally incapable of holding any grudges or malice towards anybody. I mean, she rescues him.
Yeah.
He's sitting there drowning after he's tried to kill them like every other episode this season, and she's like, we got to help him. He's trapped.
Mhm.
It's so, and he saves her later on, saves AZ, but also
Yeah.
saves her. And he's all, consider us even.
Mhm.
That's, to me, that's him seeing her kind of spirit and feeding off of it and saying, well, there's still hope for me, even though I'm not ready yet. That kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Brent
I
in.
think something that's kind of interesting.
Go ahead.
If I could just
Yeah.
real quick. Something that's interesting is like as we learned in the last episode, Omega is technically older than the entire Bad Batch, and while the clones were made for one thing specifically, that was to fight in the Clone War, she has, when we look at her, we automatically assume, okay, she's a child. What does she know? I mean, in episode 2, we see her fascinated with stepping on a different planet, playing with the dirt on the ground. It was a really childlike moment. But at the same time, she has more experience interacting with people or clones. She has more experience with helping develop those clones, helping them learn what they need to learn, seeing the ups and downs. So she can be that more sympathetic character because she has her entire life where she did that. She can be that sympathetic character for someone like Crosshair, who was designed with one goal in mind, to be the ultimate soldier.
Yeah.
So I feel she does play that very unique role, but it's very easy to overlook because she sounds like a child, she looks like a child, and she acts like a child when she's off Camino because that's all she knew.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she has that incredible experience of helping raise clones for the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Right. She's their older sister.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a funny dynamic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Katrina. Go ahead.
I think honestly, it's gonna take more than Omega, and I will only say that because Crosshair, you can see for however tough he acts, he has an abandonment issue, and it has to do with his brothers, with his batch. And I think we saw like the very beginnings of like Crosshair's turn because they came back for him and because they tried for him. So I think it's gonna be all of them. Like there isn't just gonna be a moment where like Omega walks up and works her magic. It's got to be everybody has to be in on it for Crosshair to feel safe enough to accept it. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's at the point right now where the door is actually open for both of them. Sorry, for both sides, I get, not just for both of them. Because again, they've been giving each other the choice this entire time and just making sure the other one is sure of what they're doing. Because you can't force someone to do something just because you think it's right. Because that person totally thinks that what they're doing is right. And you just gotta be like, all right, I'm gonna let you do what you want to do and just reconnect with me when you figure yourself out or if you want to talk again. And that's pretty much where they're leaving it. And I don't believe that Crosshair is going to go out of his way to personally like hunt them down or anything like that,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to kill any of them. He made that abundantly clear. Like he straight up executes his entire squad just to say, "Hey, I don't want to kill any of my brothers, but I will kill everyone else for you," which is deep. If you
Yeah,
think about it.
seriously.
I love that moment, by the way, which was in like the episode 15 of Tech just looks to the side and sees the mirror, and it's just like, oh, I know what's going down here. So
And once again, Wrecker is completely oblivious to what is going on
yeah,
until
I
Tech
love how
has to
Tech's literally just
explain
like just smacks him, and then Record's like, hmm?
it.
So good. I love the Tech and Wrecker dynamic because Tech
Yes.
tries to like say something and Wrecker's always just like, I don't know what you mean. Or like again back in like episode like 1, he's like, oh look, you just did the armory, it's fantastic. I have this new proton torpedo. And Tech's just like, no, I'm not sleeping next to that. Like, no, you're not putting this on the ship. And like it's just like this is fantastic. It's
I
very
love it.
slight. We don't get like that much of it, but it's
That
good.
and then when they're in the when they're on the training floor and like Tech's like using the hand signals or
He's like,
whatever.
I don't understand.
And Wrecker's like, I don't know what you're saying.
It
And
would
he
be
says,
useful if you memorize them.
he said the thing we did
We
on
mimic-
Utapau. And he said, oh, okay. Like
Like,
it
I
took
love
him a
my
second.
big dumb husband.
Yeah.
He's so stupid. Love
Because
it.
I think
yes.
I think all of us can I think all of us at the end of the day all of us can relate to Wrecker because I think ultimately we are all Wrecker at some point in our lives where we're just like
Oh, yeah.
we just got to go
Yeah.
through it. And I mean, come on, Gonky is like Jam said, Gonky is king.
Donkey is. Donkey is the one true
He is.
savior.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
literally is.
He
I
did
was so
save the
excited to
ship.
see that he like was like back up and walking around for like the finale, like or like moving into it, because like I was so worried he got like totally like over fried and they weren't gonna be able to like get him back, but
My
he's good.
wife
The well-being of
Let me
those
tell you,
droids.
yeah.
my wife literally
Let me tell you
yelled
about
Gonky.
if you like Gonk Droid stories, let me tell you, we
Race
have
to
one on
Crash
our
Point
YouTube
Tower?
channel called
But go ahead.
Power Trip. No, we have one
No.
on our YouTube channel called Power Trip, made by our friend Ryan Morelli,
Oh,
and
nice.
he
It's
did like
super
a
fun.
whole animated story about a Gonk Droid who goes on like a journey. I just want to say it's really good, and it's like an obligation of mine to throw it around as much as humanly possible.
know
I
what?
need to
I'm
make
gonna-
sure I just
I'm gonna
spread
plug
the
that in
word
chat.
because
Yeah,
it's so good.
same.
It's
Yeah,
really cute.
it's
a lot of
super
fun.
cute. If you're ever in a
It looks
bad
great.
mood or whatever, it'll lift your spirits. It's fun.
Like
Oh, for sure, it's so good.
And it's told as like a child's story, so it's just like a bedtime story type thing. It's really cute.
Yeah, it's really
so
yeah.
that's why Gonky is the one true king. I love how
But
it's
also
just
Race
like
to Crash Point
the
Tower.
statement that
He's great too. V8.
Yes,
his name?
yes.
Like
Yeah.
V8, yeah.
Gonk Droid
He's
on
so good.
rockets.
Yeah.
Yes.
See here.
Such
And he
a cool
talks.
cover.
I'm always
Yeah.
happy to see Gonk droids. I think like the highlight of like Rise of the Resistance,
Yes.
the queue was you turn that corner and you see that Gonk droid like right there. I lost my mind. I was so excited to see it.
Yeah, that's actually one of
King.
my favorite things about
I
Rise of the Resistance is just seeing that Gonk
Is-
droid.
I
I
love-
just
is it
plugged that.
I
like
still-
walking around? Or is it just
No,
like
no,
there?
he's like off like in a
Okay.
corner, but like it's as like when you go from the outdoor to the indoor queue, like that turning that corner is
Yeah.
he's the first thing you see going into the base.
Okay,
it's
okay.
really
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, Gonky ended up saving the day.
He did.
Yeah.
I love how you
I'm
mentioned
in-
that like everyone can relate to Wrecker, or like everyone is Wrecker at some point,
Mhm.
because I think just like also to like turn that as well, like everyone can relate to at least one of the members of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I have never related to a character more than I have related to Tech, which is kind of insane because we don't have that much characterization for him. But in the
Yeah.
sense of just like totally just like as I'm doing right now, just like going on about like some topic, and it's just like, can you please just like
Mhm.
we get it. I love that, and like I don't necessarily always like pick up on like a joke right away if someone is like talking about it, and so it's just funny to like feel that way, because I feel like that's another reason that like this show has like so many people have like fell in love with it, because each of the different characters, they are so different, even though they are technically supposed to be the same kind of person.
Yeah. I know John and I were talking about relating to Wrecker when it came to our breakdown of the first 2 episodes of the season. And uh, John's an uncle, I'm an uncle, and just hearing Uncle Wrecker and just like seeing his
The kids running
interaction
up.
with the kids, that's the sort of thing that I relate to when it comes to Wrecker as well. Just like when I see my nephew and my nephew's face just lights up, even though he's like 1 years old or 1 year old, just seeing his face just light up when he sees me enter the room, it's just like one of those things where it comes to Wrecker, and just seeing those kids just light up when they saw Wrecker, and how he's just like a big kid at heart as well.
Yep.
I know that you guys have to go here very shortly. But I just wanted
Yes.
to, before you go, I just wanted to thank you guys for showing up. After you guys leave, we're gonna wrap some things up here in just a little bit. But I just want to say, I just want to get your final predictions, or your predictions for season 2, before AJ, Matt, and Jam leave us, and then I'll get John and Christina's final predictions, and then we'll start to wrap things up for the night. So go ahead, whoever wants to go first.
We haven't talked about like the little bonus. I don't know why I call it the
Oh
bonus scene.
yeah,
The
go ahead.
bonus.
Go
the
ahead.
ending
I'm
scene.
sorry
Bonus
about
scene.
that.
It's how the series
Outside-
ends, AJ.
It's a bonus scene. It goes outside the batch, and it's another thing.
It's an
But yeah,
MCU credit scene, but yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's what I
the
refer to it as.
before the
It
credits.
feels like it.
Yeah.
Anywho, I'll use that for my prediction, because I think that'll be a big thing for season 2.
Yeah.
We see what will most likely be a cloning facility of sorts for the Empire. We see the Pershing outfit we see in Mando that doctor is wearing. I don't think, did she have a name? I don't remember.
I don't
No.
think she had a name, no.
But I don't know. People have thrown around like, oh, will we see Grogu in there, or will we see similar experiments to what they might be doing with Grogu and Mando? Maybe that's not necessarily what I think, but I do think we're about to see some like dark science and dark cloning
Dark
that the Empire might be
science,
working on.
cloning,
Yeah,
secrets only the Sith do.
knew.
but I don't know.
Yeah, there we go, John. There goes our prediction, bud.
Just saying.
I definitely think that's on the table, and then that'll also be going on in Mando in
Yeah.
a different shape or form, and it's all kind of connecting. And I don't know what the Batch will be up to. I think Crosshair will become a bounty hunter of sorts. I don't think he's going back to the Empire. And yeah.
I want to get Matt and then Jam real quick, and then I want to ask you just a quick follow-up question. But go ahead, Matt.
So I think we're definitely getting a clone rebellion. I think that's fairly obvious. Not tied to the actual rebellion, but like totally separate, like the precursor to the rebels. And I think personally, I think it's going to be a significant portion of the clones. I think it's going to be practically all of them are going to eventually be able to break their programming. It also means they're going to get wiped out. So that's going to be something we're going to have to watch, because we obviously know they don't succeed.
Yeah.
And who knows, the 3 clones that we meet in Rebels could be it, other than Kix, of course.
Yeah.
In terms of whoever survives this clone rebellion. But that's my main prediction is more Rex, more focus on whatever Rex was doing. He was too busy to save Gregor. Whatever he was doing, I personally think he's recruiting other clones and he's gathering arms to rise up against the Empire. And obviously, we're not going to get the clone rebellion on Kamino like a lot of people thought we were. But I think it's going to be like more of a large scale conflict on multiple planets with multiple battles and stuff instead of just like a one-time skirmish. And earlier in the season, I would have thought I was gonna say the Kaminoans are gonna do it. They're gonna like turn the clones on the Empire with like chips and stuff. And that was my prediction at the beginning of the season. And now I really like the fact that no, it's gonna be the clones that make up their own minds to kind of rebel. And I hope that'll be some kind of like inspiration for the rebellion to see this large group of decommissioned soldiers rising up one more time in heroic defeat.
Yeah.
But that's my prediction. Probably for more than just season 2, if they're planning on stretching this show out for however long. But we'll see it start in season 2 for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, so mine is going to be a slightly crackpot theory, but
All right.
idea for season 2, I hope that Nalase builds a Galen Erso type exit strategy plan and builds some sort of failsafe in whatever she does for the Empire. I hope that actually comes into play. I think that would be like a huge part of it, and then somehow she ends up like assisting these clones which will rebel. That'd be really cool because even though she helped create all of them and she could inevitably help destroy all of them, that would stink. But I mean, I think it would work out. But yeah, I hope for the Clone Rebellion, and I hope for more information about the Havoc Marauder because I need to know more about that ship ASAP. The concept art is not enough for me. That's it. That's what I want for season 2.
So my follow-up question is, before you go, going back to Nalase here and her entering this new facility, is this where we finally get the Death Trooper?
Maybe.
Could be.
I saw a quick theory that those like little kids that were like walking with Nalase on Kamino, they're like, "Oh, where are we going?" And they're like, "Oh, you'll still be soldiers, but like maybe they'll be Death Troopers. We don't know."
Yeah.
That'd be
Death
fun.
Troopers, Purge Troopers.
Oh,
Who
knows?
I forgot
Yeah.
about the Purge Troopers too. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
I don't know. I'm excited no matter what.
Yeah, I'm super excited where it's gonna go. It could go anywhere. Really.
And that
well,
will be
sort of.
season 2 will be in 2022. But I know that you guys, HoloNet Marauders, you guys have got to go. But thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody stay tuned. We're going to wrap things up here in just a little bit. But thank you guys so much. And may the force be with you.
Thank you.
And just
This was a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We'll have to do it again sometime. Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you guys.
For sure.
But I'm
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.
Nice to
It was
meet
great
you guys.
talking to you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. All right. And then there were 3. So I want to get 3. So I want to get your predictions here for season 2. And I also want to hear some of your highlights and your lowlights and what some of the surprises were for season 1 for you guys. I forgot to ask them that, and I am so sorry because I know that they had to go. But let's go with your highlights here. Let's start with Katrina. What were your highlights of season 1?
Yeah, going back to Ryloth. I know some people are like, "Blur, that's filler," but I love Ryloth and I love the Twi'leks and Cham, and it was so cool meeting Eleni. Yeah, and meeting Eleni and also not having to watch Eleni die on screen, because that was my first thought when I saw her. It was like, oh no, it's Hera's dead mom. I'm gonna have to watch her die.
It's similar.
Thankfully, that's not what happened. Completely different mission, you guys.
It's similar to like every Batman movie and Spider-Man movie with watching Bruce's parents die and Uncle Ben die. Yeah.
Yeah, I was prepared for it. So it was really cool to go back there and especially like see how a planet like that was already like it's been. I mean, Ryloth is always under siege, and it was cool to see like how Cham's freedom fighters were like forming outward and like spending time with Hera was wonderful. But it was also good to see the batch interact with like a cause again, and I think it was the reality check they needed, and I think that's gonna that and like freeing Gregor and getting involved with like rebel efforts, whether they knew it or not. That's going to inform a lot of what we'll see them do in season 2. Now
Yeah.
that it's kind of like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, I agree. John, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, the Heron extra I thought was absolutely fantastic. Also, going back to Baraka, that got me hyped. Obviously, mainly because of Fallen Order being such an incredible game. I was super excited for that. I want to learn more about that plan. I was hopeful that Cal Kestis would make an appearance, but at the same
Yeah.
time, probably not. It's completely fine by me. But that episode got me really hyped as well. I think one of my favorite moments of the entire series came in this last episode, and it was the dialect between Hunter and Crosshair. When Hunter looks at Crosshair and says, we can both be on different sides, doesn't mean we have to be enemies.
Hmm.
That part really hit home just because, one, I know a lot of times anything Disney does, it can get a little preachy from time to time. But I think that moment was such a polar opposite. And the first thing I thought of was Obi-Wan versus Anakin
Yeah.
in their final standoff, which when Obi-Wan pretty much said it, well, Anakin also was pretty much, if you're not on my side, then you're my enemy. Just because you have a difference of opinion, you have to be my enemy. And here, Hunter goes, we don't have to be enemies. We can believe in two different things. It doesn't mean we have to fight against each other. It doesn't mean we have to try to kill each other. Obviously, if you're in an empire state of mind, that doesn't really mesh with your overall agenda. But I thought that was a very interesting moment in the very last episode between those two. I feel like that was probably one of the moments I thought would have gotten through Crosshair at the last moment to maybe see him turn around and jump on the ship. But yeah, I think my favorite moments, just because it was something I was expecting, would be back in the early episodes when you got to saw those small transition periods from the Republic to the Empire. That was really awesome. I love the action in the last two. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The dialogue was great. The cameos were awesome. I felt like the cameos may have been forced a little bit too much, but overall, I thought they were okay. But I thought it was decent overall. I was pretty happy with it.
I really enjoyed the Cad Bane cameo. I thought that was when as soon as I heard just the music change to like that Western theme, I just said, "Oh man, he's coming, he's coming," because you never see him in Clone Wars like post season 5. You don't see him anymore. So seeing Cad Bane and seeing just how ruthless he was and just how at the end of the day he'll draw on Hunter, and Hunter thought that he had the quicker gun, but he really didn't. And just that scene following up Hunter getting shot with Hunter regaining consciousness, and everything's like seen from his heads up display in his helmet, I thought was just brilliant. Fennec Shand worked perfectly when it came to her in the story. I felt that they they did a little too much with the whole have to go after Omega thing, because like it just seemed like after that episode where she gets reunited with the Batch, they kind of just dropped everything with that. Which I think we'll pick it up again in season 2 probably after the dust settles with everything on Camino. Um
Mhm.
I felt that the first like few episodes were really strong. 7 and 8 on Baraka were absolutely fantastic, especially with Wrecker just flipping for just that brief moment, and then Crosshair getting jet blasted by an ion engine. I thought was just awesome. And then I just felt the Ryloth story was perfect. It was nice to see like these freedom fighter cells forming outside of Saw Gerrera, which I felt that cameo was just a little forced for Saw Gerrera, just a little bit, because to me, I it just felt like, yeah, he's still here. Well, we know he's there because we see him in Rogue One. We know that he spends this time building. It was interesting to see how he was building, but it just felt a little forced. And then just these last 3 episodes between War Mantle, Return to Camino, and Camino Lost were just absolutely fantastic. And I have to say, this show is the most beautifully animated Star Wars show that we have ever gotten. Some of these shots felt like that they were straight up from live action movies, especially like when it came to the combat, when it came to ships flying on approach onto planets and everything. The one cameo I was okay with, but didn't like the voice acting was the Freddie Prince Jr. one, just because of how deep the voice was. But that's about it. Katrina, what did you think of the cameos that we got this season?
I there were points where, like, when I first saw them, I was like, oh boy, we're getting a lot of cameos this season.
Yeah.
But after, like, I sat down and thought about it, I was like, there's every single one of the characters that came in as a cameo served a purpose for our
Yeah.
main cast.
Mhm.
And that's what makes a cameo important to me, is that you see that echo out and reflect on where the main characters' journeys are going. So I don't know, I didn't hate the cameos. I honestly just didn't like Kanan's character model. I was really displeased. I was like, I'm sorry, that's not how it works. I was yeah. But it was just a really weird, and it was just like glaringly like obvious. It was bad.
He didn't have his glow up yet.
No,
He
no.
certainly hadn't. Wow. Oh boy.
But
There was absolutely no glow. It
Oh
was just
no, none.
translucent. It was, I could see through that kid.
yeah,
I
but
and that was like, honestly, that's like my only massive, like,
yeah.
wow, I was angry that this happened, great, because I don't really get angry about Star Wars these days. I like to stay young and beautiful. So I don't
Well,
like
and
to
you
put
are,
lines
but
in my
you know,
face over that. So
but
are you guys.
thanks.
I love it.
Thank you. But I have to say, like, when it comes to the Kanan glow up, like, he looked a lot better just in the one hologram that you see him in Clone Wars season 7 for like a brief second. He looked a lot better in the one hologram. Um, Now I have to ask, when it comes to cameos, is this the last we see of Hera until Rebels, or are we going to see more of her as this show goes on?
I hope we go back to Ryloth. I'll be honest with you. I really do. I want to see more of that conflict. I think it could
Mhm.
drive the story. And also, not even talk about Hera, the other cameo I really want is Numa, the little girl
Oh,
that
yes.
Waxer and Boyle found, who also, we see her as a freedom fighter in Rebels. And, like, I
Mhm.
really want to see more of Cham's people showing up. But
Yeah.
please, I'm sorry, you had something to say, and I just got all excited
No,
about
no,
Twi'leks.
you're fine. John, go ahead.
I mean, I understand the purpose of cameos. I understand it's, the Bad Batch is kind of a new direction,
Yeah.
and really exploring a new area of lore that, for a lack of better terms, has really been neglected in the Star Wars universe. What happens after Order 66?
Yeah.
And the cameos kind of serve as those connecting points for the Star Wars fans to be like, oh, okay, now I can put this person here in this timeline. I can put this person here in this timeline. This is what they were doing then. And I think it's great, but at the same time, having a few of those is great for the story, but after a while, it feels like if it keeps going in that direction, then it relies on those other stories to make that series successful. Like Rebels is great. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go back and explore those conflicts more. I think that'd be a great idea. But if we do that with every conflict, if we do that with every cameo that comes in, then it stops really being about the Bad Batch and, what they do after Order 66 happens, after the establishment of the Galactic Empire, and becomes more of let's explain this for this character in that series. And then if that's what happens, I feel like the magic of the Bad Batch kind of gets lost and gets swept under the rug, because
Yeah.
everyone else just shines so bright already because they're already established.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to cameos, the one that worked without like really diving too much into the character, it was in Rebels, where you had Lando show up for like an episode or two, and you had Leia show up for the one episode just to establish like that the rebellion was being formed outside of what Hera did. If we get more cameos in the Bad Batch that do that, just to give us an overall feel for what's really going on, yeah, I'm okay with that as well. And like you said, up until this point, we dealt with this post Order 66 within the old EU, which is now Legends, and they expanded on that quite a bit. But to see it now being tackled in this new canon, it's really powerful, and I mean, they hit the ground running with it. They just need to keep going. If that makes sense with what I was trying to say, like with between the cameos and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I find it super interesting that Star Wars has chosen animation as a medium for like the primary vehicle for those 19 years between, Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Like we've gotten books and stuff, but when you think about that time, it's like it's Rebels and it's Bad Batch. Like we're gonna get Kenobi now and Cassian to like inform that, but the leaders of like us this era and like what we know about it are here in the shows, and like I'm glad that that's being taken super seriously. Like I love kids animation. I'm all about it. I know what's made for me and what's not. Again, I don't like getting angry about stuff, but I love that like I get a really good anime show that's catered to me this time because I love Star Wars animation.
Now my question is, when it comes to actually ducktail on what they were, what Jam and AJ and Matt were saying about the clone rebellion, is there a possibility where we get the Bad Batch and some of these rebellious clones actually forming the rebellion on Jeddah with Saw Gerrera? Like, is that the possibility where Hunter and them end up on Jeddah?
I would say that the link for that and what makes me think about that clone rebellion and how it's going to be different is the fact that when we meet Rex again in Rebels, he and Ahsoka have lost contact, but he's still in contact with the rebellion at this point. Like because in Rebels he's like living on that planet, chasing the freight dragon with Gregor and and so like I think that's going to inform why that happened and why we see the three of them there, because and where Wolf is right now, because obviously he's going to show up. And like I mean I hate to say like stack it with cameos, but when it comes to like the clone perspective and the people they're dealing with and the people they'll inevitably meet because they have to connect and survive, I'm very interested in how that's going to play out.
I think something that would be very interesting, because I mean, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, the Bad Batch doesn't know what happened with Anakin yet.
No.
And I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, please don't put Vader in this. Don't put Vader in this in season 1. We don't want to see Vader. We want to learn about Bad Batch. We want to learn." And I get that, but I feel like ever since season 7 of Clone Wars came out and the Bad Batch had that interaction with Anakin and they got to know him, that it feels like that has to be touched on in season 2. I feel like you almost have to have Vader in there. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Vader fanboy, but I just feel like it would be very crucial to the Bad Batch story. What would happen when they find out that Anakin became Darth Vader, that he betrayed the Jedi Order and just flipped the entire universe upside down? That could be the spark to get them involved in the Clone Rebellion. I think that would be a great a moment that ignites them to go off in that rebellion and become part of that fight.
And also going off of what you said, look at what that did to Ahsoka when she realized how that Vader was Anakin. Like, it wrecked her. And then we get that line in The Mandalorian where she says, "I see what this has done to the best of people." Now, granted, she was talking about attachments, but it's similar to that where, they worshipped Anakin Skywalker as a war hero. That's what he was. He was a war hero, and he was willing to undergo that mission to save fives. I would love to explore that. I would love to see what they deal with that, and I would love to see Rex come to terms with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you could ever come to terms with it, but I would like to see that emotional side of that story play out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Rex wouldn't have found out until after Ahsoka found out, though, because if Rex knew and he saw Ahsoka, he probably wouldn't waste any time. So I'm not sure so much about Rex, but what that did get me thinking about, and that was mentioned before, but Crosshair becoming a bounty hunter
Yeah.
would of course open up another venue to see not only Fennec and Cad Bane, but like all the classic bounty hunters that are super popular right now. I've said this, and know everybody is saying this, but I would love to have Boba show up on this show.
Yeah.
Just because I love the Boba Fett that we've seen in animation, and I love the Boba Fett on Mando. I love this Boba Fett that, like, he's badass and he's cool, but he also is very insanely human. Like, he is a person with like emotions, and he was a teenager with like angst and like highs and lows, and we saw so many bits of his humanity. I always call back to like that episode on the train when he's with Asajj Ventress and the crew, and he finds out that Princess is human cargo, and the whole mission changes for him in that moment. He offers to help her, and again in Mando, he has that honor bound to him to help Mando protect and find the child, because that's the kind of guy he is. So I want to see Boba show up and interact with Omega to show off that human part of him again. Because I'm sorry, but if Boba Fett found out he had a sister of any sort, that would be a big deal to him.
Yeah. Now, do you think that they're saving Omega for Book of Boba Fett? Do you think we might get her in this show?
It would be so sick.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd see her in Book of Boba Fett, because we wouldn't get
Thank
Bad
you,
Batch
Katie.
until later.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. What do you think, John?
Yeah. I see the gears turning in your head.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
working.
see you thank you. I see you just like fighting back like what you want to say. Omega.
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 Boba. Boba Fett.
Yeah, Boba. Hey, Boba. Um so my other question here, when it comes to Boba Fett and Cad Bane, are we going to get that animatic that Dave Filoni showed at Star Wars Celebration of how Boba Fett gets the dent in the helmet and how Cad Bane lost his hat for a while?
Why not?
Yeah,
I mean,
why not?
it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's small stuff like that that gets the fan base excited. I mean,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to add that in there? I mean, I don't see how it can hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I I don't know what else to say about the show. It was a good first season. It was a solid first season. This one, the show, once again, they knocked it out of the park when it comes to a lot of the stuff. Dave Filoni and his team over at Lucasfilm Animation are absolutely fantastic. And if there's one person that should be steering the direction of storytelling over there, I'm glad that Dave Filoni is one of those people that is doing it. He has given us.
Props to Jennifer Corbett and Brad Rao
Oh
too.
yes,
His
the
seconds
writers.
in command.
Yes, the Jennifer Corbett.
Slamming it this season.
Yes, they did fantastic. And Kevin Kiner for the music as well. Kevin Kiner's music just absolutely set the tone for this season. And I got to tell you, the music in the final two episodes, especially when Crosshair fights with the Batch again in the training room, just hearing the Bad Batch theme, like in that more triumphant, like in that louder crescendo there, I just thought was just beautiful and moving. And anything else that you guys want to say before we sign off for the night?
I'm kind of curious to get overall ratings for season 1.
Okay.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank season 1?
All right, Katrina, go.
I'm really bad at ranking things. Oh man, I don't know. Like I feel like if you came back to me after season 2, I'd be able to give you a definitive number.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm stumped. So what about you guys?
I'm going 7.5. It's a solid first season.
Mhm.
It has a lot of strong moments. For me, it had some weaker moments too. Like the infestation episode, I don't think you really needed to do with Sid kind of
I
like
hated it.
losing her den at I don't think you really needed to do that one. Um, but other than that, it's a solid first season. I think that it's better than like the first season for Resistance. It's definitely better than Clone Wars' first season because Clone Wars first season, but then again, looking back on it, Clone Wars is almost a nearly perfect show because of the later seasons of that show. John, what would you say?
I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay.
I loved the first episode.
Hmm.
Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with it. I completely agree. It's better than Clone Wars season 1. I'm so glad they don't have a narrator explaining everything at the beginning of the episode and throughout the
But I
episode
love that
drove me up a
touch.
wall. No, it was so annoying. It was like episode 1 of the Clone Wars. It was like Jedi Master Yoda, blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
This is what he's doing. Let's find out what happens next. It's like, okay, like we could have found that out through dialogue between
Yeah.
Yoda traveling to that planet and whatever.
Oh yeah, with the
But yeah,
Toydarians, yeah.
yeah, glad they got rid of that. I thought that was great. My issue was, and I'm going to use the dreaded F word,
Okay.
way too much filler.
Okay.
Way too much
I
filler
can see
in
that.
season 1. Get rid of Sid, or just cut everything Sid does by 70%. The infestation episode I thought was a complete waste of time. I was actually quite ticked off after watching that
I
because it did
remember.
absolutely nothing. I know Eric had to hear me rant about that. I
I
apologize.
did. I did. It
I
was
mean,
great though.
it reminds me completely like separate universe here. It reminds me of the Fly episode in Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
where the entire time
Which
Walter
that was
White and Jesse were
done
in
by Ryan
the meth
Johnson.
lab, and it was them trying to kill a fly because it would taint the batch of meth that they were cooking. And it was the dumbest use of an hour of anyone's life to watch that episode. I'm not gonna say it was up to that level just quite, but I thought it was completely useless. I've gone back and rewatched it to try to find something,
Hmm.
and I still can't find a reason for that episode, even from a character building standpoint.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, it focused heavily on character development throughout the entire season, which is great.
Yeah.
But I felt like it missed a lot of, again, what I said before, that expansion from the Republic to the Empire. You can't tease that in the first 3 episodes and then just drop it stone cold from there. I feel like if they're going to go on all these missions for Sid, that they would have encountered a lot more of these changes.
Yeah.
They just never did. And then, obviously the Baraka arc was great. Then the Indian was great. I mean, everything with the Twi'leks was great also. But just the filler episodes, just really, the fact that it took up it felt like almost a half of the season. That's my biggest reason why I give it a 6. Other than that, everything was great. It's exactly what you wanted from a Star Wars animated series. The character development was great. I mean, Eric talking to you about, you're like, oh, I love Omega. I hate Omega. Okay, I'm coming around to Omega now. I think that tells you that they had a strong story or a strong
They had a
thought
good
process
through line,
behind her character. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, if you can love a character, then hate a character, then come back around, one, you're emotionally invested, which is exactly what they want you to do.
Mhm.
And 2, you're paying attention and you realize that every character has a flaw. And then, I'm blanking on who said earlier in the show, but like when you identify with a character,
Mhm. I think that was.
and then you see how that character handles certain situations with other characters, you're like, okay, I can understand that now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So overall, I think it was good. It could have been better, and
Yeah.
just that's my
I-
6 out of 10.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think my rating is it set really high expectations for season 2. Like
Yes.
that's what this season really did for me, was like I didn't finish this season and go like, okay, we're just gonna have another thing just like this. Like the things they set up made me very excited for season 2, which I fear is making me expect too much from it, because I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be bigger and better than what we've got this time around for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that part of it for me was I think I overhyped myself a little bit too for this first season, especially
Mhm.
coming off of season 7 of Clone Wars, as well as like knowing what they did with season 4 of Rebels. Um, I just felt like I just hyped myself up just a little too much. But all in all, it's a solid first season. It's a lot of fun. Uh, we got those A team in space moments that we were told that we were going to get, even though I wanted a little bit more from that. But all in all,
Mm.
fantastic first season. Um, hand it to all of the writers, all of the animators, I mean, just everybody. D. Bradley Baker deserves an Emmy for his work in this show. Absolutely. Especially playing all of those characters and making them sound different. Um, and I just want to say one other thing. I think that if we get into this clone rebellion, I think the when it comes to the in who's the leader, I think we're going to get Gregor and Hauser start to become the leaders of this clone rebellion. Because I think that's why they emphasized rescuing Gregor and why they emphasized Hauser still being alive with the Ryloth stuff. So, um, that's going to be it for us this week, my friends. Thank you both for joining us. Just plug yourselves on social media real quick if you want people to find you and talk Star Wars with you. Um, you can follow us at SB Transmissions on Twitter.
Yeah, you guys can find me anywhere if you look for Oh Katrina. That's OHCATRINA. And you can check out my show, A Fight Club Far, Far Away,
Yep.
anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
It's a great show. Absolutely great show.
Thank you.
Yep. And John, go ahead, Led
It
Tasso.
just makes me realize I need to change my Twitter handle and everything because it's spelled so funny. At Fiasco, PHIASK0, because I hate you all and I don't want you to follow me. It's essentially what that comes down to. No, again, Eric, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm a part of OTN Media. We have podcasts, live streams covering video games, esports. Star Wars is a big topic we cover for Star Wars video games on there as well. That's Level Up Live. And then if you're in the DMV area, that's DC. If you're not in DC, you probably cover DC esports as well in the pro gaming scene here. So find that Game On DC.
That's awesome. That's it for us this week. I hope that you all had a wonderful time. We're going to see you next week where we're going to start talking about the High Republic and we're going to be doing our countdown divisions, which that is the next big Star Wars thing that's coming up, and we are super excited about that. Plus, we're going to be talking about our favorite Star Wars video games. So, John, if you're free next week, come back on, and you too, Katrina. But other than that, at the end of the day, just remember, may the Force be with you. May you fight for light and life, and just remember that we are all the Republic except for John, who is a Sith Lord. That's it for us. Have a wonderful week.
And also don't forget the attack on the DS1 orbital battle station was a terrorist attack by a terroristic group called the Jedi. So yeah.